said, hola, como esta? She said, konnichiwa. She said, pardon my French. I said, bonjour, madame. And then she says, say, and I say, no, lay. No matter where I go, you know I love them all. She said, hola, como esta? Said, konnichiwa. She said, pardon my French. I said, bonjour, madame. And she says, say, and I say, no, lay. No matter where I go, you know I love them all. I'm feeling kinda young, I'm feeling reckless. Let me hold you, let me grab you by the necklace. I'll show you what the good loving and sex is. It turns you on when I got you feeling helpless. And I'ma eat you up for dinner, lunch and breakfast. Bring your friends along, cause they are on the guest list. We can fool around I'm breathless. Hold off the drinks, how my body's feeling selfless. She's telling me this, she's telling me that. You said you take me with you and you never go back. Now I got a lesson that I wanna teach. I'ma show you that where you from, it don't matter to me. She said, hola, 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 como esta? She's hola, 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 hola. You know I love them all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC, the full loaded transfer show. We are back tonight, as Jaissle'S rebuild starts. It begins with a fantastic win against Valencia last night. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk all about the latest transfer news. We're going to cover it all on Loaded Mag NUFC. Chris, how are you doing this evening, fella? How's things?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, it's been a bit of a hectic day or a hectic weekend, really. I've spent nearly 2 days putting up a pergola, which to some people is probably very, very simple, very, very easy to do. But I'm not the biggest handyman in the world. I'll admit that right now. I am very much an office type fella. So yeah, I've been getting stuck in a little bit of painting. Yeah, just it's been quite hectic, but. All good. It's been a nice weekend. I've enjoyed it, and I particularly enjoyed last night's friendly as well. Although it wasn't that friendly at times, was it, Pete? But yeah, enjoyed watching Jaissle'S boys for the first time, and yeah, lots to discuss, lots to think about, and lots to try and assess. I think is probably a fair thing to say. But yeah, I'm good, mate. I am very, very good. But how are you doing, mate?
Not too bad. Good weekend, nice and chilled. A few bits and bobs here and there. Weather's been great. Yeah. And the weather was great over in Valencia as well, as the boys came out 2-1 winners, and we'll get into that in just a second. But look, we'll go through the niceties. Thank you all for joining us. We've got nearly 300 people already, and we've only been going 2, maybe even 3 minutes. Thank you for coming and joining us on Loaded Mag NUFC. If you're on X, feel free to come over on YouTube. We always say this, and we do mean it. We've got a fantastic community in the chat. They've already put their comments and some questions in, some super chats coming in as well. Be a part of it because we're going to come to that section later on in the show. And we'll get it out there just whilst it's here. Okay, jerseys, the 26-27 Premier League season is very, very close upon us, and get your jerseys now. The Newcastle United top is in. Anyway, top will be there very, very soon. So get involved whilst you can. Make sure you use that loaded code for 8% off. Right. Just before we go anywhere, Chris, before we get into the game, just a few things just to cross off our list. We've already discussed this in particular, but this man here, it has been confirmed now by multiple sources that Lewis Hall will be staying at Newcastle United. Keith Downey does say that Newcastle informed Man United that he is not for sale this summer after an initial inquiry. Fabrizio Romano says Newcastle made clear to Lewis Hall in his camp they have no intentions of selling this summer. So that was just more of an update, just a clarification, just a tick box off our list that Lewis Hall is staying. Some people would have noticed that Lewis Hall, Fabian Schär, and there was one other that's completely gone my mind. Lewis Miley, not part of the match day squad. They travelled home early and were training at the Knox to get ready for the next game. I think Lewis Hall might well be ready for the midweek game. Miley's going to be back before the start of the season, and I'm not too sure on Fabian Schär. So that's just a little bit of an update there on those players. So nothing to worry about. All part of the plan. They went home. However, that's what I want to get into, Chris. The game against Valencia. Yes. So we had our manager in the dugout for the first time with his backroom team. We had a new captain for the first time, Malik Chow, leading out the team. But look, we'll get into the little bits of the game. But I just want to get your opinion on, firstly, this man's performance, Anthony Elanga, and of course, the horrible tackle, absolutely disgusting tackle from the Valencia player, the captain, I believe, in which Anthony Elanga got sent off. Thankfully, it's not serious, just bad bruising on the shin, and he should be okay very soon. But heart in mouth moment that was when the referee made the sign for the stretcher. We thought it was something a lot worse. But Anthony Elanga, up until that point, your thoughts, mate? What do you think?
Oh, I thought he looked really, really promising. Do you know what? It was a sinking stomach moment, where you just think of all the players, the one player this season, even more so than Johan Wissa, who I want to kind of, hit the ground running and, show what he's all about, is Anthony Elanga. I think he came in for a lot of criticism last season. Obviously, with Johan Wissa, he missed his pre-season. He was in and out of the team, whereas Anthony Elanga, he played quite a big part last season. But he just didn't perform for whatever reason that is. So I've been really looking forward to seeing, hopefully, the true version of Anthony Elanga. So when he went down, understandably, because it was a dreadful tackle, it was a heart and mouth moment. I was just like, oh no, of all the people. But yeah, and then the referee obviously signals for the stretcher, doesn't he? And you think, oh, here we go. But yeah, thankfully it's not. It's nothing too serious, but I thought he was one of our brightest sparks up until he went off. On that right hand side, I thought he looked really, really dangerous, really potent, and he just seems. And I don't know if you agree, Pete. He just seems full of confidence. He just seems like he's had a really good summer. Obviously, he performed well at the World Cup. I think he was one of Sweden's strongest players, if I'm honest. So he's got a lot of reason to feel confidence, and he came back, didn't he? Early for pre-season, and the club released a few videos of him, and he looked sharp. He looked ready. So yeah, it was really disappointing, but hopefully we see him back on the pitch for Newcastle United very, very soon. But what did you think as well, Pete, of Anthony Elanga's performance before he went off?
Massively impressed with what I'd seen. First off, his goal was perfectly good. There was nothing wrong with that goal. He was onside. And it was a well-taken finish for me. So I was annoyed that got ruled out. But I was really, really pleased to see what I saw from him in that short period that he was on the pitch. You're right, he looks hungry. He looks motivated. He looks like he's ready to prove a point. And he just looks so sharp. He really, really did look sharp. And some of the runs he's making. I honestly believe that the player, was it Gaia? The left back, I honestly believe that he made that challenge on Anthony Elanga because he couldn't stop him. Like, he was just leaving him for dead, constantly running in and behind where he wasn't able to catch up or keep pace with him. And I honestly feel like it was a moment where he's gone in hard on him, almost to kind of try and slow him down, to kind of take him off his game. And he's gone in. Like, it's just ridiculous. The challenge was a disgrace, but really, really pleased with what I was seeing from Elanga. Not just his work going forward, but his work back as well. He was box to box, getting back in, supporting Jaissle'S, who was obviously starting for Newcastle at right back as well. So he was trying to look after him as best he possibly could. I was really enthused with what I've seen, and it's really clear that he could be a really important cog in Jaissle'S system and the way in which he wants to play. And those runs in and behind could cause absolute havoc for teams next season. They genuinely will. So yeah, really pleased with what I've seen. Thankful that he is not seriously injured. You know, they're saying he could be back quite quickly once the bruising obviously calms down. We may well see him next weekend at the double header, hopefully. But yeah, lots to be positive about with Anthony Elanga, and he's got a big season ahead. Lots to prove. I'll be honest, Chris, I don't think he could get much worse than what he did last season.
No.
For whatever reason, he just did not hit the heights. He just did not suit the system, the way we're playing. But if Matej Jaissle can get that right, and it seems like he's trying to with Anthony Elanga, he's got a player that could really cause a lot of problems next year. So I was really pleased with that. Now, one thing that was noted on here was this. Matej Jaissle has laid down the law in training, imposing a rule not to pass the ball sideways or backwards in certain drills. Now, I'll be honest with you, Chris, I noticed that in our play. I don't know if you noticed it in the way in which we play, but you're nodding. So, you know, was looking at the way we play, look at the style we played, could you see a clear difference between what we've been seeing last season to this season in the way that we were set up to play yesterday?
For me, yes. And what I would say is, I mean, obviously we've heard the word intensity, haven't we? And that's been described for Matej Jaissle and his teams, you know, intensity. But the thing that I liked most was the fact that you saw the press being activated, but only in certain moments. But when it was like, to describe it, it was like they were hunting in packs. And I think there was a moment when Leo Shahar started the press, and then I think Will Asula come over, and you've seen Jaissle like clapping just because it was at that moment. And I suppose it's just getting used to it, isn't it? It's sniffing it out and knowing there's an opportunity. And then I think the fullback, it was probably Gaia actually, just lumped the ball forwards, and then we just got possession back, and it was like, job's done. You've got the ball back. Now you can just, relax a little bit. I also thought as well, Pete, I don't know whether you did, which I think helped with the press, the defensive line was further up the pitch. I noticed that we were camping very much in, the latter stages of our half. So we were almost on the halfway line. Now, that wasn't all the time, because then you did see us sit deep. But I think it was just seeing those two contrasts. So there will be times where we just sit deep, get your breath back, give them an opportunity to kind of, come at you if you like, and then that's when you exert the counter attack, and you literally just try and go. You utilize the pace that you've got on the wings, but then there is opportunities where you sense blood or you smell blood, and then you're like, right, you go forward, and that's what you need your manager for. Your manager will be seeing it, and your manager will be going, right, press up, squeeze them in. And then that's your opportunity, because you can't, someone in the chat put it before, and it's absolutely right. You can't intensely press for 90 minutes. You just can't. You've got to pick and choose your moments. And there will be times where you've got to soak up the pressure, but then there will be other opportunities where you can actually, really put the pressure on and hopefully try and carve out some opportunities through your midfielders who can hopefully find that intricate pass.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really liked what I saw from the presser, same as you. And that Leo Shahar moment was a really important moment there, because he almost kind of hesitated. He kind of like hesitated, do I press, do I not? And then he did. He won the ball, and that's when Matej Jaissle was like, yes, that's exactly what I want, almost like encouraging him to do so. And you're right, they just lumped it back into it. I think Malik Char picked the ball up, and we're back in possession again. And then it was right, get it into the midfield. Can we work it forward? Can we continue to push them back? And I felt like we did that for long parts of the game. I know that, Valencia scored early, a fantastic strike. We should have done better. We should have closed the ball down. I don't think Hornacek could have done much about it, because it was right in the top corner. We should have done more to close that down, and that's a learning curve for us. But I actually thought in attacking moments we did cause them a number of problems, and it started with that press. I thought everyone pressed really well and together. And you can only imagine that if we do that in 10, 15 minute spurts, we are going to put significant pressure on the opposition, and we are going to create chances off the back of that, because we did. We created chances. For me, I said it before, Langer's goal should have stood. For me, causing panic and pressing high and creating moments created the opportunity for Asula, where for me, that was a stonewall penalty. It was a stonewall penalty. I don't know how the ref has not given that, because Asula's played the ball and then the players took him out. And I don't understand how that's not been given. And so, you're looking at that. We created other opportunities. Asula down the left-hand side, I think it might have been Barnes that put him in, and he hit the side netting with his left foot. Should have gone across goal. Normally strikers are taught to go across goal that way. But again, that's another really good opportunity carved out. So we were creating good opportunities, good moments, good chances in the game. And that is because we were playing with that intensity in those pockets. Other players were definitely there, and we could talk about all the players all night, really, but some standouts over the course of the 90 minutes. This man here, I think lots of people have been talking about him, Sean Sturr, in the second half. Just before we get our opinions, it said on here, the likes of Sean Sturr in particular adhered to those instructions of pressing and using the ball in the right way. The new Dutch midfielder, 18, plays far older. These are the words of Craig Hope. He looks ready to be a starter, but may have to wait. Jaissle wants the former Tottenham man. We'll go into that in just a second. Sean Sturr, talk to me.
Mate, I put a tweet out. I mean, anyone who follows my X account knows I'm not a huge avid tweeter. I obviously tweet out about shows and stuff like that, but it's very rare that I kind of post my own opinion on something. But Sean Sturr last night, that's what, now multiple occasions I've seen Sean Sturr, and I've seen enough. I've seen enough to know that this lad is going to be special. And a few people messaged me last night and said, "Oh, you're being negative already. We're talking about him leaving." I'm just being a realist, because this lad's 18 years of age, and every time I've seen him in a Newcastle United shirt and he stepped on the pitch, he's been the best player by a mile. By the way, by a mile. He looks like his ceiling is just ridiculous. And I tell you what, I know we heard, didn't we, that the coaching staff have been impressed with him since he's come in. The coaching staff must be looking at him now performing for Newcastle and going, like this. I'm not going to name names of players because it's probably not fair to put that pressure on him, but I'm looking at him and I'm thinking he potentially, with even more time at Newcastle United, he could end up just being like a fish out of water, just in terms of there'll be other clubs looking, just going, who the hell is that? Like, I think Ross Wilson and David Hopkinson and co must be going, we've signed an absolute gem here. And we heard, didn't we, that when we signed Sean Sturr, that people were saying he's got a higher ceiling than Keith Smith. Like, he looks absolutely unbelievable. And you can see now why so many Ajax fans were upset, that they'd sold him. I think it's going to be, based on that short quote you put up there on screen piece, I think it's going to be difficult to keep him out of the team. I really, really do. But if he carries on performing the way that he is, he comes on the pitch, and do you know what? Somebody, I forget who it was, described him as like a younger version of Bruno. Now, again, I don't want to put pressure on him, but even with the way he gets the ball and his first thought, you can see, is to look forwards. Where's the pass? But he's not talking about little 2-3 yard passes side to side. He's like, where can I hurt this team? Where can I thread the ball through? And he's done it on a number of occasions yesterday. And then he's spreading 30-40 yard balls like it's nothing. Yeah. Like just literally just casually whipping it across the other side of the pitch. And for a young lad to be doing that, and I think the reason that I'm so excited about him as well is because of his temperament. So whenever you see him on the pitch, or when you've seen him, away from the training ground or whatever, his temperament is just, it's like you've said there, it's like he's 25, 26, like he's been playing the game for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, when in really he shouldn't have that level-headedness that he's got. And this is why I'm getting excited, because I'm thinking, do you know what? If you can get a tune out of Bamba, if you've got Louis Miley in there in the middle of the park, who we all rate incredibly highly, all of a sudden you're looking at that midfield and you're going, it's going to cause teams problems. I think the biggest problem for Matthias Jaissle now is to keep him out of the team, because I think this lad is going to be a fan's favourite, and fans are going to be absolutely screaming the stadium down for him to enter the pitch if he's not on it, because he looks incredible. I've been saying it to my mates. I've been going, they're going, oh, here he goes again. And I'm like, boys, honestly, there was a few impressive performances last night, but Sean Stair just looks unbelievable. I can't remember the last time I was this excited. The last time I was this excited about a player, I think, was probably hasn't been Arthur, but for different reasons. So not as in anything can happen, just in terms of raw ability. And I can only imagine. No, I'm not going to say that, because otherwise I'm putting him in on par with other players. But I get now why certain fans, and maybe we've not experienced this so much, I get now why certain fans get so excited over youngsters. You know, like I look at Everton with Rooney. I look at, players that are coming through. Now, obviously, he hasn't come through at Newcastle United, but he's a young lad and we've just bought him. But I get the furore around it, because when we've brought youngsters in the past, you've gone, he looks like he's quite handy. He's coming in and you're going, fucking hell, who's he? Who is he? So yeah, I'm Pete. I'm excited. But what about you? I know you've probably got similar thoughts, because I saw your tweet earlier and I've just liked it. You sound just as excited as me.
Absolutely. I've been impressed every time I've seen him play. It was I said when I come back off holiday, when I spoke to the Ajax fan, and he turned around to me and he said, "You've just signed our best player." That's a big statement for an Ajax fan, for someone that watches Sean Stair week in, week out, to say you've just literally signed our best player, and he's 18 years old. And then you see him, and I watched him against Gateshead, and I said at the time, I was like, it just reminds me of Bruno, and you can see why they've signed him. Now, it was clearly with the vision to have him learn from him for a year. That's not materialized, obviously, because Bruno's gone. But this lad plays with the same mentality and the same level of technical ability as a Bruno Guimaraes. And he just, what I loved about him, I saw it quite a few times in the second half, is that it's just little things, and people take this like for granted sometimes with a footballer, but it don't half make a difference. Where he gets the well, I've seen the clip out a few times on social as well, but he gets the ball and he'll look firstly to see where the passing lines are, where the lanes are. Is there an opening that I can drive it forward into either over the top or into a player's feet? And if he can't, he'll just pass it. He will pass it to the side, but instantly, as soon as he's passed it, he's like, right, where's the space? Where can I then get that ball back?
Yeah.
And then what it is, he'll collect the ball. He's at a different angle. Right, where's my angles now? Where's my passing lanes? Right, nothing there. Pass it along. Right, where's my next angle?
He's always wanting the ball. He wants space to get the ball. You can see he's like, right, I'll go into that space. Give me the ball. And that's
he will in matches touch the ball probably more than anybody else, because he demands it. And for an 18-year-old to come into a new country, a new league with a bunch of new players, and just come in and go, give me the ball. I want it. I want to dictate the play. That doesn't happen. That kind of stuff does not happen, not with an 18-year-old.
No.
Like, to come in and be so commanding in that area, to the point where players are giving him the ball. Normally, you're protecting an 18.
They're looking for him, aren't they? They're looking for him.
They're actually giving him the ball, and they're allowing him to have the ball under pressure and confident that he's going to make use of the ball and do things right. And look, his range of passing is fantastic. His short range, long range, whether it's over the top, whether it's through two midfielders into a dangerous area. He's got it. He's got it all, and I agree. I do think Matthias Jaissle'S is going to have it very, very difficult to not play him, because he's too good to not be played. And Craig Hope said in there that he might have to be patient. Well, if he keeps playing like this, I don't know about that, Whether he starts the season or not, I don't know. But if he keeps playing like this against Everton and then the next week doubleheader, he should be starting against Liverpool. He absolutely should, because he then becomes a key cog in the way in which we want to play football. And you could only see in that second half when you've got Toure and you've got Murphy, and then you've got Wissa, and then you've got Willock as the fourth, that are on their last line, ready to make runs in and behind. You're going to want someone that's got that ability to pick that pass, to get that right pass, to deliver it into the right areas. And Sean Sturt is absolutely that.
Was it Pete? Was it the? You'll have to jog me memory here because it's not the best. He played a ball in, didn't he? Was it against Bristol, and everyone was giving Harvey Barnes stick because he missed from like 2-3 yards out or something, and it was his ball that he played in, and he curled it to the back post. But like the way that he curled it, he missed the whole defensive line out, and then the lad at the back post was then able to head it. Forget who it was. Was it Bristol or Gateshead that? It might have been Gateshead, I think.
I can't remember which game it was.
It was a brilliant ball. It was a brilliant ball.
It might have been Gateshead actually. I don't know why, but I'm thinking it might have been Gateshead.
When it was 1-1 and we could have won it.
Yeah, so that would have been Gateshead.
Yeah,
that would have been Gateshead, because we definitely weren't winning that Bristol game for sure. But he looks a hell of a talent. He really, really does. This man here, Yoran Wissa, was on in the second half, scored 2 goals, one created by his press and hard work to win the ball back, finished it off nicely, and then was part of the counter-attack that slotted home the winning goal. And alongside this man here, Bazamana Toure, they caused havoc down there. But just talking a little bit more about Yoran Wissa, positive signs, mate. Positive signs that we are getting a different version of Yoran Wissa this summer. What did you make of his performance?
I thought he played really well. And again, you put him in that Alanga bracket. For whatever reason, it didn't quite work for Yoran Wissa last season. You can say it was the pre-season. You can say, I mean, a few Newcastle fans were quite, us included, were quite critical of Yoran Wissa. Maybe his head wasn't right. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't trust his leg. Maybe he knew that there was something not quite right with his leg. But then obviously he went off to the World Cup with Congo, performed well, and he's come back and he just looks a new player. And do you know what? Let's be honest when I say this. He owes us. He absolutely owes us. But if he continues putting in performances like that, and maybe he's rejuvenated under this new manager. Maybe he felt like Eddie Howe had kind of washed his hands of him. So this is now an opportunity for him to impress. And I think yesterday he impressed. That's the first time since Yoran Wissa's come in where I thought you could be the starting striker. I've always thought it'd be a Sula. With the current crop of players we have, I've thought that it would be a Sula. But yesterday I thought, you might go with Wissa here, You might go with Wissa, because I thought Wissa, played really, really well. So yeah, I was impressed by him, Pete, and particularly the first goal, because it was an opportunity that came from, like you say, it came from his anticipation of a ball being loose or a ball being played back, too short or too slow. So he took that opportunity, and he still had work to do. He still had to put it past the keeper. And he did it. He did it really, really well. And I love the goal as well with the link up with Bazamana Toure. I loved that goal because, yes, people will say Valencia were down to 10 men at that point, but it was still well worked, and Wissa was still driving into the box. He was still desperate to get there, and he knew that Bazamana Toure could then square it to him, and it was a simple tap in for him. But you could see that the effort was there. He was pressing. He was looking lively. So yeah, I was really encouraged last night by Yoran Wissa.
Yeah, I was really pleased that he scored those 2 goals. Really well taken goals. Like I say, he cut out the pass and finished it to make it 1-1. And then, as you said, on the counter attack at the end, being there to be an option to put the ball in the back of the net, and did so. I thought it was well deserved. I thought he had a really good game. I thought he looked lively. I thought he looked dangerous. He looked sharp. He definitely looks lighter in terms of like his physical state. So he's obviously working hard in training, and it's been talked about. It's been reported in training. He's looking really sharp, and it absolutely showed in that second half performance. And if he continues like that, and he continues to build up that connection with Basamana Traore, why not be within a shout to start at the beginning of the season? I didn't think Asula played amazingly well. I thought he looked tired, and maybe that training's took it out of him. But he did look tired. He didn't look at his best. That's not to say that he's not going to play well. He'll definitely get opportunities to show. But goes back to my point. Will Asula had a chance where he was in, and he hits the side netting. Jan Wiese has a chance, puts the ball in the net, and ultimately Matej Jaissle'S is going to choose the striker that's putting the ball in the back of the net, because that's exactly what we need going into this season. So positives there from that. Quick words on Traore. Impressive. In 45 minutes, Chris. What do you make of Basamana Traore? And is he someone that's going to be in your starting lineup against Liverpool, first game of the season?
Based on what I saw, yes. So Basamana Traore he's the type of winger that I think we've been screaming out for. I love my wingers to have a little bit of trickery, but ultimately I want them. I can't think of any other thing to say. I want them fast as fuck. I want them to be rapid. I want them to be rapid and constantly causing the fullbacks problem. And when Basamana said, well, there was another scare, wasn't there? Because he went down after a challenge and it looked like he'd done something to his shoulder. So that was another panic. I was thinking first Alanga, now Traore. But thankfully he looks okay, even though he played on and still didn't look quite right. But he carries on playing, so you'd hope it's nothing too serious. But yeah, I again, similar to Sean Steer, I think Basamana Traore, I think the manager's going to struggle to keep him out because I think Harvey Barnes is in for a difficult time, because I think Basamana Traore showed that he's more than capable, and I think he causes problems. And do you know what I really liked? And this is probably really pointless, but I have to say it. Do you know what I loved? Every time someone played in the ball and it didn't quite work out, or they overhit it or whatever, he constantly turned around and was clapping as if to say, acknowledgement, nice one. Yeah, he seems like a really, really nice kid. And some people will say, I don't care if he's nice, as long as he's good, but he just seems like a good character. And I really liked that about him. And he's obviously bought into Jaissle'S, his format. He's getting behind everyone, and we need that togetherness this season, because I think, as most people will say, we are going to be up against it this season. So to have characters like that who, are appreciative of the fellow players, I think is a big thing. And I'm not just saying that. I really do think it is a big thing, because to show a bit of acknowledgement and go, oh, nice one, good ball, or, I do like stuff like that, because it just shows, that togetherness within the team. But yeah, I was majorly impressed with him, mate, and I'm hoping that we get to see him against Everton on Wednesday. Him and Sean Steer, to be honest. I need to see both of them. But hopefully Basamana Traore is okay with his shoulder. But no, I was impressed, Pete. I love the fact he just wanted to take his full back on. Every time he got the ball and he was touch tight to the touch line, you could see he'd been told stay as wide as possible. And as soon as he got the ball, the first thing he wanted to do was get to that byline. And he put some brilliant crosses in as well.
That's his bread and butter. His bread and butter is direct play. Gets the ball, runs it his full back every single time. And he's relentless with it as well. And that's not normal in the modern game. You go back to the 90s, early 2000s, your winger was constantly, relentlessly running at his full back and then trying to whip balls into the box. He's like a throwback for me. It's like a throwback old school winger. Gets the ball, runs at his full back and whips a ball in. And he ain't half got a good delivery. His left-footed deliveries of the ball, I mean, I'm sorry. That Murphy finish where he skies it over the bar is an absolute disgrace. It's ridiculous.
It is literally a disgrace. I said to Lisa was on the phone, I went, hang on. I said, just watch that replay. Just watch that replay. Jacob Murphy's robbed him of a perfectly good assist there, because the ball in was brilliant. It was brilliant.
As a forward player, That is what you call on a plate. It is on a plate. There's no uncomfortable bobble. There's no defender distracting the ball coming in to kind of like take away your judgment of whether you go in. Everything fell perfectly for him. So just the whole thing. The whole thing was fantastic. He gets the ball. Will it come short to go? Yeah, short pass. And Torre goes, nah, you're right. Bang, straight past his fullback, leaves him for dead, and then whips. And it's not even like he gets to the byline and then whips it in. He whips in an early curled ball, which means the goalkeeper can't come out for it because it left the goalkeeper in no man's land, which allowed Murphy to slam it home. Like, it's not like Murphy even had a goalkeeper to shoot at. Like, the goalkeeper's kind of in no man's land. He gets caught, so he's then backing off. Murphy just needs to hit the target, and that's what frustrates me. And it's like, that's why we need killers at the top end of the pitch. That if you've got someone like that that's going to be providing you with the quality of service that Torre did in that moment, you've got to put it away. And that's what we need. We need absolute killers in there to put that ball in there. But really, really impressed with him. Really like him. I agree. He seems like a really nice character, just a genuinely nice lad. And you see that in the little clips, and I've seen the TikToks that Jaissle'S been putting out where he did his initiation. He was singing, and they're just interactions with the squad. He seems like he's really nicely settled into the team right now, and that can only be a good thing. But hopefully nothing too serious on his injury. But really, really impressive to see. And he's one of them that kind of we've not really talked about enough because he was signed and then we haven't really seen anything of him. So it was nice to see him in action. I just wanted to make one lap.
Just before you do, look at that, mate.
It could be a seriously frightening left-hand side. And you know what? With someone like Torre, you might not even see Lewis Hall do as many overlaps as you think. Because Torre is so direct, you probably won't see Hall do those little overlaps and those overlapping runs. He'll just be there as an option as a left back. If it doesn't work out and he needs to cut it back and play it to Hall to then whip a ball in. But as two left-footed, dynamic, attacking-minded players running at their fullbacks, a lot of fullbacks in the Premier League are going to have nightmares coming up against those two, but that can only be a very, very good thing. We just need to make sure that the right-hand side is of the same ilk, and that's really, really important. You need to make sure that both sides are more than competent in causing havoc down either side, because you don't want to be like we were a few years ago when we're very much one-sided, because teams will get used to you and create their tactics to be able to stop that side of play. Whereas if you're dynamic on both sides, it just makes it more difficult for a team to put a tactic in place to be able to stop you, because we're able to cause problems either way. Now, just really, I just wanted to be really quickly on this one, because this man here, Alachi Bamba, I heard a lot of mixed opinions on his performance last night. A lot of people saying he wasn't very good. A lot of people saying he was, he needs time, and that he was, too slow, etc., etc. I'm going to be honest. I'll go first on this, Chris. I'm going to be honest. I do not believe that he had a bad game. I was actually coming out of that game. I was actually watching him first 10, 15, 20 minutes. I was watching, thinking he looks everything that we thought we were going to get from him. He looks a really tidy player, and he was calm on the ball, really good in possession. Sometimes he might have released the ball later, but when he was releasing the ball, he was still getting to his man. He just needs a call in his ear to tell him that he's got a man on. It's just those little bits of communication that's not necessarily his fault, that maybe other teammates need to improve on. But what I really liked about Bamba is his progressive passing. And it didn't always come off, but I found myself watching the game almost applauding him, going, I like it. It's really good. So there was a few times, particularly in that first half, where he played through the lines, and it was in through not just the midfield, but through the defence as well. And our players didn't catch on. So it was a nice, lovely little dinked ball over the top that if Jaissle'S had been switched on, he'd have been in because no defender would have got him. But he was too slow to react. Bamba plays the ball, and it just rolls through to the goalkeeper. And I was almost applauding that from Bamba, going, "That's the type of ball I want to see." Asula wasn't switched on. He wasn't aware of that he's capable of that ball. Now that will take time, but I loved what I saw from him. There was another one where it was played through two passing lanes, and Alanga runs onto it, but he makes the run too late and he just misses it. The goalkeeper comes out and collects it. But I liked what I saw from him. Big, strong, physical guy, not afraid to get involved in the tackle, really comfortable on the ball. But it's that progressive passing that a lot of people don't realize that he's got to his game that I liked a lot. And I thought he had a really steady game. He's not a character that's going to show too much emotion on the pitch. You see him, he's very, very straight faced, doesn't really show his emotions as much, but he is a calm operator on the board and he goes about his business in a really good way. But I obviously, I don't know if you saw some of the negativity around Bamba on socials, Chris. What was your own thoughts on his performance in general?
To be honest, I was a little bit surprised by it because obviously he came off at half time. I'm scrolling through and, I'm seeing some fans going, "Oh, thank God he's off." Oh, thank God, that wasn't very good. But I was a bit like you, Pete. I wasn't, don't get me wrong. Did it set my world alight? Was I foaming at the mouth over him? No. But there was enough there for me to be encouraged. Like, he's got something. There was a couple of times where he shielded the ball, so you could tell he's a big lad, isn't he? He's 6'5", 6'6". He's a big lad, big strapping lad. And there was a couple of occasions, where players were trying to get the ball off him and they couldn't. And so for me, and Sophie's just put it in the chat, and I agree, Sophie. He just looked raw. He just looked like a player who probably just needs more minutes, needs more time to adapt. Because let's not forget, he's only played 45 minutes. He might play against Everton. He might play 45 minutes, 60 minutes, who knows? And I saw enough to think, yes, there's a player there. And I can see why Newcastle have bought him, because he offers the most similar profile, I would say, is probably to Joe Linton, but he's going to have a lot more in his locker, technically, in terms of on the ball, in terms of, finding players like you were talking about, that little ball over the top. I thought he was good. He wasn't a Torre or a Stay last night, but there was enough that he didn't come off, and I think, oh God, I'm not sure about him. I thought he'd done okay. He lost the possession a couple of times, but that happens. But yeah, there was enough there. I thought he'd done all right. I thought he was okay. And in terms of a first showing, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah, definitely. Again, a young lad, first game in a new system. I think he was getting used to that as well, where he needs to be, what type of ball players tend to want. 5-10 games into the season, those couple of balls that he played through the passing lanes, Asula will be onto it, Alanga will be onto it, and will be creating chances off those type of balls. So it won't just be a Sean Stir passing through the kind of eye of a needle type pass. You'll have Bamba doing it. That Ramsey's capable of it as well. And so you've got players on the pitch there that can manipulate the ball in a real technical way. And what we've got here, people, is technical footballers. Players that are technically good on the ball, comfortable in possession, comfortable under pressure, able to play through the passing lanes and wanting to as well, and going, you know what, I could play this safe pass here, but I want to pass straight through. I want to get through to where we need to get through. There's a few players from last season that were doing it, your Murphys, your Barnes, your Shahars, that were kind of keeping it very, very simple, going backwards. Nah, that's not what we want to see. And that's not what our manager will want to see. He'll want to see you go, you know what? Nah, it's easy to go backwards. I want you go forwards. I want you playing and making those forward passes. And some of those players are going to have to adjust to the way the manager wants to play. And that's the exciting thing, because we are going to be playing some much better football. So overall,
just to add on to that as well, and I think Dan makes a great point. Dan says Bamba is not supposed to be noticed. He'll position himself correctly. Look how many times he was available to receive the ball, and it's exactly
Absolutely.
that. We have to understand as well. You will have players like your traditional number sixes, because we've had Sandro Tonali as our six, haven't we, in recent times, and also we've had Bruno. Everything man through Tonali, everything man through Bruno. Now with Bamba, the idea being he's there to put out the fires, he's there to be physical, and he's there to give the ball to the likes of Miley, to the likes of Stair, to the likes of your wingers, your Torres, your Barneses, your Alangas, your Murphys. Well, hopefully not Murphy, but his job is to basically recycle the ball and protect that back line. Now he's also got the technical ability in his locker, and he can pick a pass and he can carry the ball as well. But Bamba's not. I don't think that we're going to be watching Bamba next season and seeing 8, 9 out of 10 performances in terms of, oh, let's see that great pass he did. Oh, see that assist he got. Oh, see that goal he scored. You're not going to see that, but he will just be quiet, and he will be the one who's protecting the defense, and that's what we need from Bamba. We need someone there who's going to basically put out those fires. That's the kind of player that Bamba is. He's not going to get you double figures in goals and assists. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not his game. Not his game. But yeah, lots to be positive about and lots to see in there. And of course, this one here, one of the key takeaways in the rules, in certain zones of the pitch, only 4 passes are allowed. We touched on that before. If the ball goes sideways or backwards, Jaissle'S will stop play and penalise the offending team. And that was what went on to talk about Sean Snow, which is what we've already talked about, is that there was a lot of those progressive passes. Bamba, Stir, there was a couple of others on the pitch. Ramsey was another one that's going to be very much forward-thinking players. And that's what I'm really excited to see. So Jaissle'S, a successful first game as manager against Valencia. They got to lift the trophy, but there was a noticeable absentee. Mr. Joe Willock stepped aside and wasn't in the overall picture. But there has been news today, Chris, and we'll come straight to this, is that there's talk about a deal potentially with Willock being resurrected with Besiktas. Now, I'll run through what the latest is with Joe Willock. Some reports in Turkey are saying that Besiktas have now intensified their contacts for Joe Willock. They're saying that if Newcastle can agree to 20 million euros, which is roughly around 17 million pounds, that Besiktas will be happy to finalise the deal. Mike McGrath yesterday said, in fact, it was today, this morning, said that Joe Willock, who was on subs yesterday, has 1 year left on his contract and open to move this summer for regular football. Besiktas previously rejected approach, but also Premier League clubs are monitoring the situation. Now, the Daily Mail Sport this afternoon have reported that Benfica are back in the race, and as it says on here, Joe Willock will join Besiktas if they meet the asking price. So there's a little bit of a kind of debate here on what's happening. Newcastle originally had an asking price of something around 25 million. Besiktas are saying, well, if you will accept 17, we'll take him. Could there be a meeting in the middle? It seems like his reaction at the end of the game and then the noise that's come out off the back of it means that a move is likely to happen in the next 3 weeks. But what do you make of that? Do you expect Joe Willock to leave based on that new bit of information that we've just seen there? Do you expect him to still be a new?
Oh, sorry, Pete, I lost you then.
No, I'm just saying, just based on that information there from Joe Willock, do you expect him to still be a Newcastle player? There's still that Besiktas are offering 17, Newcastle want 25. Will they meet in the middle, or will a Premier League team come in and potentially take it?
Well, I'd love a bidding war. That would be really good. And let's be honest, Pete. We've said this about a lot of our outgoing players. Whether it be Sean Longstaff, whether it be trying to think some off the top of my head, like Carl Darlow and players like that. Joe Willock isn't a bad player. Joe Willock isn't absolute garbage. It's just the fact that Joe Willock isn't at the level I would say that we're aspiring to be at. Joe Willock is probably a mid-table player, maybe a lower mid-table player, who, you know, given a run of games, and if he's a regular starter, is a decent player. You know, I could see Joe Willock at someone like a Palace or a Fulham. I think we've spoken about it previously. I think you know, he would still do a job in the Premier League. Would he fancy his chances in Turkey? Maybe so. I think, yeah, I could see us meeting somewhere in the middle. I would love to get 20 million for Joe Willock. Obviously, we all would, but unfortunately, because he's only got a year left on his deal, maybe that's being a bit adventurous. But for us to get somewhere in the region of 15, 16, 17 million in for Joe Willock, who's got 1 year left on his deal, number one, I think it's good business for Newcastle, because obviously we're bringing money back into the club, saving on the wages. But secondly, I think for the buying club, it's a decent signing. What is he, 26, is he? It's
26.
Yeah, it's a decent signing, because he's proved he can do it at the top level. He scored against PSG, didn't he? He's proved he can play at the top level, but I just don't think he can do it consistently. And also, you know, I look at this, you know, this team that we've got now, and I struggle to see him getting in it. I really, really do. And, you know, well, we know who our main players are that, you know, we're looking to move on. And I think it's fair to say, you know, that is Nick Pope, Joe Willock, and probably Jacob Murphy. I actually believe that once those three have moved on, I don't necessarily look around the squad and think, oh, he's got to go, we've got to get rid of him, we've got to move him on. To me, he feels like the last of, it's probably a harsh word to use, the last of the Deadwood. I think those three players are probably the last of the Deadwoods. And then any players that you do move on in the future, I think you can command pretty decent fees for them, as long as you don't let them go down to the last year, because that is just suicidal. That was a really bad mistake. But yeah, in terms of Joe Willock, I think, you know, he's been good for Newcastle United. I think he's had some big moments, but I think now is the time to move on. And particularly if you're wanting to get some kind of fee for Joe Willock, because if you wait till January, it's going to be minimal. And then obviously, if you wait till the end of the season, you're going to lose him on a free, which is no good to anybody. So Joe Willock is probably looking to secure his future. So I agree with Mike McGrath when he's saying that he's looking, you know, to get first team regular football elsewhere. He probably doesn't want to be sitting on the bench for the majority of the season. He'll get some cup games. He'll come on as a sub now and again, but I don't see him being a big part of this squad going forward. And I think Jaissle, from the sounds of things, you know, is going to be looking to move him on, as well, of course, as Ross Wilson and David Hopkinson. But yeah, for me, it just makes sense. Anywhere between 15 and 20 million, I think, is a decent price, and that will be above his current book value. So it gets some funds into the club, much needed funds, and also reduces the wage bill a little bit.
I'm pretty sure we would have paid off his fee now. For how many years he's been here?
We probably should have, yeah. I would say so.
So you're looking at whatever fee we get for him now is almost pure profit, and we shouldn't really be talking about selling a player for pure profit, but this is the world that we're in right now, and he would come across as a pure profit. I think there's. I'll be honest with you. I think there's anywhere between 17 and 20 million. I think there's a deal to be done there with a Premier League club or Besiktas. There was an interesting point in the chat here. DXLE just put Besiktas are 1-0 up in their Champions League qualifier, and if they go through in the second leg, they're likely to sign him because they'll know they'll have a windfall, a money windfall, if they're guaranteed to be in the Champions League group phases. So that is an interesting point, and probably could well be a potential deal breaker or deal sealer with Joe Willock. But the reason why we've got to the point that we have with Joe Willock is because of his injuries.
Yeah,
this is why we've not been able to sell him beforehand, because he's been constantly injured and had long, significant injuries. So his value has not been high because he's been injured, and no one's going to sign an injured player. So, and equally, you're not wanting to reward a player with a brand new contract when he hasn't proved his fitness. So it's been an unlucky period for Newcastle. So I think had he had not had these injuries and he had been fit and playing, one, I think he'd have maybe given more to the team, but two, I think he'd have been sold on, and probably for the value that Newcastle want, around the 25 million before now. But it hasn't worked out. But So we've got a year left in our deal with him. It's clear that he wants to go to play more minutes. We just need to get this deal done. I actually think there's an element of his game that could work well in this system under Matej Jaissle. But for me, he's not technical enough. He's not good enough with the ball. Matej Jaissle wants good players that are technically gifted with the ball at his feet. Joe Willock is a really good runner with the ball. Like, he's good in the transitions. But that's not enough to play in this team. You've got to have the full Monty. You've got to be able to be good with the ball at your feet, be comfortable under pressure with the ball at your feet, be able to find passes and be technically good in the transitions. There's too many elements of his game at 26 years old that he's still not got yet. And for me, it's time to move on. It was the same with Longstaff at 25. When you get to that 25, 26 point, you want to be really starting games on a regular basis and playing week in, week out. And if you're a player like Willock and you're not, it's time to move on. It's as simple as that. And we thank him for everything that he's done. But between now and the end of the window, I fully expect him to be moving and playing for a different team. It's just all about who and what price. So that was an interesting move there. Another one I'll throw out whilst we're here, Chris. This man here, Nick Pope, not even in the squad. Not even in the squad. And after the game, there was some interesting conversations there. Keith Downey reports Nick Pope was left out of the squad last night. It sounds like he's fallen behind Hornacek and Ewan Jawan as third choice goalkeeper. Matej Jaissle said, I had a talk with Nick and he knows exactly the situation right now. We need to deal with it in the best possible way. But I appreciate the human being and respect what he's done in his career. I wanted to give the new signing 90 minutes. And there was a report here today that says goalkeeper Nick Pope has also been told he can leave. And while no offer is yet to arrive, both Ipswich and Celtic are said to be monitoring his situation. So we've got a team there. We've got a couple of teams there that may well be interested in. But it seems like his time at Newcastle is up, and it's just a case of between now and the end of the window, him leaving the club. I assume you're not going to argue with that and say that it's the wrong thing, Chris?
Mate, absolutely not. Again, similar to Joe Willock in the set, but worse. Similar to Joe Willock, but worse. Nick Pope has been a really good servant to Newcastle United, and in his early part of his career, he was colossal. He really, really was, and obviously he was part of that team that won us the Carabao Cup. So he will be remembered fondly. But he's not been right for some time, and I think it all started in that Liverpool game when he got sent off for fouling Mo Salah. I think it all started then, and he's just been on a downward trajectory since then, and it's sad to see. But yeah, but again, I'll repeat myself. For a newly promoted club or a club towards the bottom end of the Premier League, he's not a bad signing. And if you're picking him up for anywhere between 5 and 8 million, I think it's good business. Because he's not super old, Nick Pope. I don't think is he
34?
34?
Yeah, he's 34 now, I believe.
Yeah, he still do a job. He still do a job for for as I say, the newly promoted teams or even a high end championship club. I think he'd do a decent job. But yeah, he's just not. Again, I keep talking about in Newcastle's case, we want to be challenging for those European positions, and we cannot put up with any more of those, dodgy decisions or terrible mistakes or not getting down quick enough to dive. We can't put up with that. And in this modern game, as we know, you need a goalkeeper who's comfortable with the ball at his feet and who can distribute it well. I can't cope with Nick Pope kicking it out for the throw-in anymore. I just can't do it. I've had enough. I'm done with Nick Pope. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best, Nick. But I am done with Nick Pope.
Yeah, it's time to go. This is the thing. And I was talking to someone the other day, I think it might have been from me, and I was saying Newcastle as a hierarchy seem like they're becoming more efficient with moving players on. We haven't been in the last 2 or 3 years, but it seems like we are now. The likes of Pope, the likes of Willock moving on. There'll be a couple of others before the window's out, maybe even Murphy. Hopefully Murphy, if we're getting a right winger coming in, hopefully Murphy will then be moved on. And it's no disrespect to these players. It's just that it's time for them to move on as part of our squad building, rebuilding process. That's all it is. It's no disrespect. It's not, get out of our club, this, that, and the other. Respect what they've done at Newcastle United. Murphy had a fantastic season a couple of years ago. It was absolutely brilliant. Like, and we'll remember that and what he's contributed to the club, as we will Nick Pope. 2 Champions Leagues campaigns, been absolutely fantastic at times. The amount of clean sheets he got, particularly in his first season at the club, we'll remember all that stuff. But at this point, it's now time for them to move on, and that's just the reality. And that's it. I'll be honest with you, seeing that pop up here, Chris, Celtic.
Yes,
that's a really interesting one for me. I think that'd be a really good move for him.
Yeah,
and I think that they are a club that could absolutely pay that fee of around $5 million to get him in. And I think that's a club that he would improve massively on. They've done it before. I think they had
Joe Hart.
Joe Hart was there before. Then they had Kasper Schmeichel. Yeah. He's just retired. And
he's
then
doing a job in the Scottish League. 100%. I agree.
Absolutely. Sophie just said, yeah, 6 million. 6 million to Celtic for Pope. We're shaking hands there with whoever they're.
We only bought him for 10.
Yeah. There you go. We've got good use out of him. Move him on. Happy days. But Wes has just said there, Harris, third choice. I think we bring in a goalkeeper. I do.
Pete, 100. We're going to bring in my opinion, we are, and it sounds like you're on the same page. We are going to bring in a third choice goalie, and it will be an experienced goalie. And I actually think, and I said this a few shows ago, I think now is actually, and someone in the chat said I was bonkers because we've got 100 goalkeepers, but I actually think now is the exact time when you need an experienced goalkeeper, because we've got 2 very young goalkeepers now, and 3 if you count Harris. They need someone who's been around the block a little bit like a Nick Pope, but don't be making any excuses. I'm not suggesting it should be Nick Pope, but somebody who's going to come in and help the lads progress. That's what they need. Like a Fraser Forster, Tim Krul. People will probably mention all different goalkeepers. John Ruddy. You need someone like that within your squad who's there as the backup goalkeeper. Like, he shouldn't be getting any football, shouldn't be getting any minutes. But if he does have to play, you go, oh, he's an experienced head. He knows what he's doing. That kind of goalkeeper, because it would be highly unlikely that you lose Hornacek and you lose Jowan. So, but in terms of what goes on behind the scenes, you need an experienced goalkeeper. You absolutely do. So I agree with you, Pete. I think it will be a nominal fee or even on a free transfer. I was actually looking at them the other day thinking, is there any goalkeepers out there who are available on a free transfer? Because I think that's what we'll do. I agree with you.
Definitely. It'll be one that they might even sidestep. We might purchase one that's at an existing club that's third choice and bring them over to us.
Yeah.
And that we are third choice. It could be any one of them. Don't do that, Sophie. Don't do that. Harris will be 4th choice when this third goal. He'll be 5th choice goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you something now, Chris. I'm telling you now.
I know what you're going to say. He's going next season. He's going to say, no.
He's going next summer. You think Matthias Jaissle is keeping a goalkeeper on nearly 10 grand a week to just literally be a shot stopper in training? You're having a laugh. That's not happening. Say your goodbyes now.
He does great parties, Mark.
He does great parties, and he's good on Instagram, and and all that, and that's great. But it's the long goodbye, Chris. It's the long goodbye. Just enjoy him whilst he's still.
Sophie knows. Best job in the world. No, and it's absolutely right. And people are saying here, DXLE says, is Mark Gillespie not the old guy? Yeah. But I think the only thing with Mark Gillespie, he is literally training goalkeeper. Like, I don't think you want Mark Gillespie anywhere near the pitch. With all due respect, you want in a goalkeeper who's been around the block and plays at the very highest level. I don't actually think Mark Gillespie's plays at a higher level than maybe Carlisle or someone like that. I don't think you want someone who's played in the Champions League, played at the very top of the Premier League, that kind of goalkeeper. That's who I think, and Pete, sounds like your lines, that's the kind of goalkeeper I think we'll be bringing in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no surprise, but I think Arsenal have got Raya, they've got Kepa, and they've just brought Meslier in there as well. Like, they're bringing those goalkeepers in to use them as backup and to have not the best goalkeepers, but secure goalkeepers that if something was to happen, they've got someone that can come in and do a job. And that's exactly what I think we will do. So that's what will happen on Nick Pope. Interestingly, Chris, I'm going to come to these two links before we come to some questions. Friday night, a couple of things dropped with regards to Newcastle United and potentially looking at a midfielder. And this man popped up. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, formerly of Spurs, currently of Marseille, played today actually in a game friendly, I believe. And it started with Santi Ouna reporting Newcastle's interest in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Apparently, Ross Wilson is on the case and looking for a midfielder. It then very quickly switched to the Northeast reporters. Keith Downey then reported the interest from Newcastle in Højbjerg, looking around, and this was the first price point, around £15 million to secure that deal. That price point's changed up and down in these recent links. Then Fabrizio Romano responds to it as well, talking about Højbjerg, and Newcastle are among the clubs keen on signing him. We then get a Marseille reporter saying discussions have begun between Marseille and Newcastle for Højbjerg, who has given his approval to join Newcastle, and Marseille are hoping for around €15 million. So that's where the price point has changed. Keith Downey reported it's £15 million. Marseille reporter here is saying around €15 million. L'Equipe also reported on this as well. Habib Bey, that's a big surprise. Ex right back for Newcastle. He was the manager of Marseille, as he's working with someone that has ties to Newcastle, and they're just saying that very, very similar here in that he could have left in January, wanted to leave in January apparently, and had Serie A teams interested in him, but they're looking to move him on. He's looking to move on. They report L'Equipe here that their hope for €10 million. So the price point's changed. We've had £15 million, €15 million, and now L'Equipe are saying €10 million for him, which works out to about £8 million. Now, last point here that was reported, instead of a blockbuster deal, the budget will be divided up into at least 3 signings. This is talking about Bruno Guimaraes' transfer fee, and that Newcastle are considering a move for Højbjerg as a possible experienced head. That's what we've got on it so far. Keith Downey did say he expected it after last night's game to develop within the next 24 hours about what's going on with Højbjerg. So there may well be an update now, tonight, possibly tomorrow, on that situation with him. But Chris, what do you make of that link with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg?
Well, we had a little discussion about this, didn't we, Pete? Because we were talking about, last time that a name was circulated like this in the way that it was, it didn't come off. So I was a little bit skeptical in the sense that I don't believe that it's going to be Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Now that's not, and I have to clarify what I'm saying here, because and for everyone watching at home, and you may all have different opinions, and maybe people have a different opinion. But for me, this is the type of midfielder that we should be bringing in. I've just got doubts over whether it will be Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. First thing I'll say is, at that price point, so whether it's €15 million or €10 million, so I think that will equate to something like £12 million or possibly £7 or £8 million. I think that's exactly the type of deal that we should be doing now. Some people will be turning around going, oh, we can't sell Bruno and bring him in. Guys, we've got to be clear here. We're potentially going to be playing a 4-2-3-1, right? So potentially having two defensive midfielders. And even if we play 4-3-3, we've already got Aladji Bamba, paid a hell of a lot for him. Sean Steer, who's really, really impressed. We've got Louis Miley, who is, meant to be, the main cog in our engine room. We're always saying that Lewis Miley will be the natural successor to Sandro Tonali. Then you've got Joe Linton. Then you've got Joe Willock. Now, obviously, Joe Willock be moving on. Am I missing any central midfielders there, Pete? I don't think I am, am I?
Yeah, so Stir, Bamba, Ramsey, Joe Linton.
Oh, Ramsey.
Miley. Yeah. So,
now, you could argue
Willock.
And Willock. So Willock to go, which I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Now, we do need another central midfielder, but you can't go. And this is why I was smiling when, I've been smiling actually the last week, when I've seen all these names being linked. You can't go and spend 50, 60, 70 million on a central midfielder with the options that we've got. You can't. Because then what does that do to Aladji Bamba? What does that do to Sean Steer? What does that do to Louis Miley? And then, like I say, you've got Joe Linton, you've got Ramsey, you've got Willock, who we know will be going.
Yeah.
It needs to be a player who acknowledges and accepts the fact that he's probably going to be here for 2 years. I would say probably 2 years. And he may not start every game. Now, try and sign a player who you're basically saying to him, you're here to bring the others on, or you're here while the others are progressing. We want you to potentially be a starter, but chances are we're probably going to either move you on, only give you a 2-year deal and just let you go. That's the type of player that we need to be bringing in. We can't go and buy a Metcha or now, in my opinion, a Bergval, even arguably a Stiller, because you're going to be paying 40, 50 million plus. And then it's like, well, where are all these players going to play? You're going to have to shunt Louis Miley permanently to right back. Are you going to have to say to Aladji Bamba, yeah, sorry, mate, you're riding bench again this week. If you invest that much money in those younger players, you need the bodies, first and foremost, but you can't just sign loads and loads of superstars, if you like. You can't just keep buying 40, 50 million pound midfielders. You just can't. Now, some people will say to me, Sean Steer was only 20, Aladji Bamba was only 30, 35 million. Louis Miley, to us at the moment, is priceless. Joe Linton may move on in time. Now, if a Joe Linton moves on in the next 12 months, if a Jacob Ramsey moves on the next 12 months, or Jacob Ramsey sits in the number 10 position, you could argue, we need to bring in, a more permanent one. But at the moment, you just can't. For me, in my opinion, you just can't do that, because you're just going to stunt the growth of one of your other players. That's the issue that you've got, because you want to be playing Louis Miley to get him more experience and get him integrated in the team. Same with Sean Steer, same with Aladji Bamba. So then if you go and buy a 60, 70 million pound midfielder, that player is going to be expecting to play in the first team every week. We as fans are going to be expecting them to play in the first team every week. It's like, not exactly the same, but it's a bit like what Chelsea have done with Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson's not going to start week in, week out. Isn't it funny, by the way? I'm just going to slightly segue here, Pete. Isn't it funny?
Yeah.
How trends appear. So, like, a few years ago, it was like, we need someone who can throw the ball really long, because everyone was doing long throw-ins. Now it's, we need like an older player. But I genuinely do think in this system that we're doing now, we need that experience. And I saw all the videos of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, ranting and raving in the dressing room. You need characters like that. And we lack that at the moment. Obviously, we've lost Bruno. We've lost Sandro Tonali, who wasn't a ranter by any stretch, but he had that aura about him, one of the best players for Italy. So he's been there, seen it, done it. You need to bring in characters. And for me, if we were to sign a player for 10 or 15 million pounds who's been round the block, a bit like the goalkeeper in Cadre, if you've signed a player who's been round the block and, will start games because you need him, but then is on the bench because you're playing Steer or you're playing Bamba or you're playing Miley, and he goes, yeah, kind of get it. You can't do that with a Metcha. You can't do that with a Stiller. You can't do that with, who was it? Someone else put another name in the chat. No, it wasn't Morgan Gibbs-White. It was another central midfielder. And I was just thinking, we're not going to sign a player like that. We just can't, because then you may as well just say to a Bamba or a Steer or Miley, yeah, you're barely going to get a look in this season. You're barely going to get a look in. It's pointless.
They've already ruled out, there's been reports already, they've already ruled out Nemeka. Like, I'm sorry, he's not worth 100 million. Even if it's 100 million euros, still not worth it. The amount of money and look, he's a good player. He's a good technical player, but he isn't worth the money that Dortmund want for him. and for me, it's a non-starter. Stiller I would take, but he's very different to a Højbjerg. But they've even ruled that out. They've even said that Stiller's not an option that Newcastle are going for. It's very, very clear to me what Newcastle are doing, and this is why I tweeted out on Friday and said I can see the vision. I can see the vision. And it was one of the videos where he's not going mad, but he's talking to them in the change rooms because they're all arguing with each other, and he's going, "Stop! Like, you're all arguing with each other. We did not do our job. We trained all week to do the job, and we've not done it. And it's setting standards, standard setters. That's what like a Bruno Guimaraes was like in terms of the training ground, in terms of in the changing rooms. That influence, that standard setter. Now, is he the same level as a Bruno? Absolutely not. But if anyone's watched Marseille last season, they will know that he is not the same player that we saw absolutely stinking out the joint for Spurs. Now, Spurs have had many a player stinking out the joint, so he's not one of them. He's not the only one. For me, I think that Højbjerg is a sensible option. I think it's a sensible option to go for. Just turned 31 years old. You can get a couple of years out of him for a minimal fee. That someone that's going to come in and maybe not command to play every week, but he's there to help those players, the Stirs, the Bambas, to be at that level. He's going to raise their level to ensure they become better players. It's a smart move. It's a smart move. There's a reason why Matthijs Jaissle'S has put him on his list, because he sees the vision that he can come in and make things better. Højbjerg at Marseille is literally their focal point. He is their heartbeat of their team. And I spoke to Lee about this, and he said exactly the same. He said he's been a crucial player for Marseille. Absolutely crucial. And he did play today as well. And he was probably exactly the same again. Now, he wants out because he knows Marseille have got a huge issue with finances. They need to raise a significant amount of money this summer. And that's why the likes of Aubameyang's gone, the likes of Greenwood gone, and a number of others that have already left Marseille. And he's in a position now where he wants to go. For me, he's a no-brainer to get in for a season or two to just improve the experience level of this team. I don't expect him to play loads and loads of minutes, but I expect him to have a huge influence in the back room. And the reason why I say I can see the vision is because for me, I see Bruno Guimaraes being replaced not by one player, but by two, and not necessarily the same positions, guys. I genuinely believe that we will sign an experienced head to be the anchor of that midfield double pivot. And we will then go out and get an experienced or maybe not experienced, but a creative spark that can play in the higher ends of the pitch, either in that number 10 role that Nick Voltemade was playing, or just within that little hybrid that can play in a 3 that is a creative spark, someone that can either create chances or score goals. I genuinely think that we are going to sign 2. Who that other person is, I have no idea. I've just seen someone put in the chat that it could be Musa. Musa could be that creative player on the right-hand side, which then frees us up getting rid of Murphy. It could be a number 10. It won't be Froholt. I don't think we'll pay 73 million to sign him.
There's the other name. Yeah, it won't be him. Won't be him.
Be in there. I see the name in there just a second ago, who I had on my list as this alternative attacking option. And we've talked about it before, Chris. Bilal El Khanous. Someone like him that can play in the pocket in the 10, can play on the left, can play in a midfield 3. Someone like him that's a creative spark. If you have the creative element of one player and that midfield destroyer element, because that's what Højbjerg is, that's what he does. He's a duel winner. He breaks up play, wins the ball back. He's solid. He doesn't really have much else around him other than that in terms of his ability, but he's good at what he does. So he does that defensive role, and then you've got someone else that's the creative spark that does the attacking. And Bilal El Khanous, someone like him, I'm not saying exactly him, but someone like him. Thank you for Craig putting that in the chat, because he is who I had in mind. Someone that could be available for a reasonable fee that we're willing to pay this summer. And if you're replacing a Bruno with two players with experience and solid defensive abilities, and then someone with an attacking
prospect
and creative who has got the ability to still get levels. Bilal El-Khanous is still, he's 21 years old. He's still got levels in his game where he could go next level and a level above. And in our system, he could absolutely flourish. And therefore, I can see the vision.
Yeah.
That's been my thought since Friday. And I've been thinking about it. I was thinking, why are we going for it? Was my first reaction to Højbjerg was not, oh, why are we going for him for? It was more, okay, what are they planning here? That was my first thought is, okay, what's the reason for this? And that for me is my reason. My reason is I think they're going for two players, not one. They're going to go for him to be the experienced head to sit and control in that double pivot. And they're going to go and sign a creative, more attacking spot. And there we use the money. And we'll probably still have some change. If we were to sign those two players, for example, Højbjerg at 8 million, El-Khanous at whatever you want to call it, 35, 40, whatever it might be, you've still got some change left there off the end of the Bruno deal.
And Pete, let's be honest. That's exactly what I was going to say. Let's be honest. We need some change because we need fullbacks. We need a right winger, particularly if Jacob Murphy goes. So the money needs to be spent elsewhere because, like you rightly say, if we went and got a Froholt, for example, everyone would be like, oh, brilliant, we've got Froholt. You'd be like, yeah, it should cost us 70 million. Now we've got to get some fullbacks. Now we've got to go and get, and as well, Pete, we can't keep going out, as we've said this window, which is right. We can't keep going out and buying these 20-year-old prospects. We need some experience. It's crying out for it. It's crying out for it in the team. And you're right. If we had a Pierre-Emile Højbjerg or someone of similar, it's like Polina. Someone else put Polina in the chat, or Frank Kessie. That type of player who's going to bring that experience. He's been around the block. He knows what's going on. In 3 years' time, he's not going to be here. We know that. But in 3 years' time, you have a Ladji Bamba's ready. Your Sean Steers ready. Your Louis Miley's ready. So you're just naturally evolving. It's a player for the next 2 years who's going to be in and out the team, but will bring so much off it. And someone else mentioned Kevin Trippier. Exactly that. A player who's going to come in and he's done. He's got the experience, Pete.
This is where I need the club, and this is where I need our manager to do deals like this, because I need them to see that vision. I've been saying it for years. Not every player needs to be signed for a long-term vision, for long-term maximizing their value. You get your Sean Steers and your Bambas for that, maximizing their value so you can sell them on for double, triple later on down the line. You don't always have to do it with every single signing you're making, with whether it's Pierre-Emile Højbjerg or the person that I'll bring up now. I'll put it in our private chat. I said we've discussed Palhinha, but we might as well discuss it now because it's been brought up. If it's either Højbjerg or it's Palhinha, who is another link that's come out today, and we'll talk about it. They're experienced heads that can be around and do a job for a couple of years. And we know how important Palhinha was to Spurs staying up in the Premier League once he got back fit again. His goals, his influence in the team, his passion, his determination, very similar to Højbjerg, that level of influence in a team that dragged them through the mud and managed to steer them safe. That is the kind of thing that we want to add to our squad and our team. Now, Craig Hope reports that Newcastle have identified João Palhinha as an experienced midfielder, as an alternative. Now, someone said, we're going to sign both. I don't believe we're signing both. I think it will just be one, and it'll be one or the other. And in Craig Hope's piece, he does talk about Palhinha as an alternative to Højbjerg. And Alex Crook's Talk Sport also reports on it as well, with a Palhinha interest. He thinks that signing would make a lot of sense. Don't really care what he thinks, but for me, I think it does make sense to sign either one of them.
Yes.
So he's another one in that. Is there before we come onto the super chats, because thank you for all your super chats. If you've got a super chat, you want to put it in, get it in now, because we're going to come to them in just a second, and we'll answer your question whilst we're live on the show. Any preference between the two, Chris?
Not really, no.
They're very similar.
Yeah, they're very similar, and they're going to do, like you said, Pete, they're going to do a similar job. And, just to bring up another player as well, which I thought was a clever signing, by the way. It's like Everton have bought Christian Norgard. Very, very similar. 32 years old, £7 million, but he's going to come in and he's going to provide that experience. He's your Garner Gay replacement, so they've let Garner Gay go. They need someone in the middle of the park who's been around the block, knows, how everything works, knows what's going on, and he brings that level-headedness and that experience, and that's what the likes of Bamber, Steer, Miley, they're going to need. You can't just have as Alan Hansen once said years and years ago, you don't win anything with kids. To a degree, he's right. And you need that experience within the team. No one's going to be doing cartwheels over signing the likes of Palhinha or Højbjerg. But quickly, very, very quickly, I think within the first 6 months, everyone's going to go, oh, what a great signing he was. It's going to be that type of player where he brings that leadership, and you need it. You absolutely need it.
I agree. Absolutely. I don't. They're both experienced heads. They're both dual winners. They're both ball winners. They both can add goals to their game. I think Højbjerg scored 5 last season. I'm just going to check to see how many Palhinha scored.
He scored a very important goal for Tottenham at the end of the season, didn't he?
He did, and I just wasn't sure how many he scored overall. So last season he scored seven goals and 3 assists. We got 10 goal contributions last season, 5 in the Premier League, 1 in the Champions League, 1 in the FA Cup. So that's not bad at all. And it's not a bad deal. He's 31, same age as Højbjerg. So it's clearly that sort of market that they're looking in right now.
And so if you offered me that now, Pete, and you said you're going to bring in that type of central midfielder, but we're going to spend big on the right winger, we're going to spend big on the number 10, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it, and we need them fullbacks, or fullback that can play either or. We need it.
This is what we should be doing. Yeah, this is what we should be doing. Those positions where traditionally they cost more money, plow your money into those areas. Like you said, attacking midfielder, number 10, someone that's got that creative spark, that creative ability to make chances out of nothing. If you could add a Bilal El Khanous, Anis Haj Musa from Feyenoord, if you could add those two in your attacking arsenal and add them into that attacking midfield forward line, and then you have a Højbjerg at 8 million euros, or Palhinha, who's probably going to be a similar price, and drop him into that double pivot, you're laughing. Sometimes it's easy to turn your nose up at a player because you've seen them play bad at another club, and you think, oh, I don't want him. But when your manager is very clear on what he wants, and those players, I've just looked at their stats, those players, 5 goals, 5 assists was Højbjerg. Palhinha, 7 goals, 3 assists. They both contributed as primarily defensive midfielders. They've both contributed 10 goals in that. Literally said that as part of my first speech around Palhinha. He literally dragged them and kept them up.
That's another good shout.
I love Sanderberg. 3 or 4 years ago when he was at Sheffield United, I was talking about him. I'd love him at Newcastle.
It's a great shout.
I'm still shocked that he went to Sheffield United. I rate him. I rate him highly. I know Man United are looking at him, and I've got a feeling he's probably going to end up there. But and he'll be the reason why I don't think we'll be looking at Sanderberg is because they'll be looking at a significantly higher fee. I think they'll be looking at anywhere between maybe 20 and 30 million, maybe even a little bit more. And I think that's why he's not on our list. But I agree. I think he's a great option. I think he's a really talented midfielder that's still got a lot to offer. But it's very clear. we're looking at two midfielders that have been heavily linked with Newcastle, that are both 31 years old, that are both dual-winning, defensive-minded midfielders, that are both on a small fee, about to leave their clubs, and they have a similar contribution in games and over the course of the season. They are looking at a very particular type of player that they want to come in.
And George wraps that up lovely, Pete. George wraps that up lovely. That's absolutely right. Højbjerg could be the next Trippier. Not obviously in terms of him being a right back, but in terms of that leadership he can bring. And I think in a couple of years' time, you look back and you go, fucking hell, good job we brought him in. He really brought Bamba on. He really brought Steer on. He really brought Miley on. Absolutely.
I agree. And I think that maybe, if you're going to ask me one, that maybe tips the boat slightly with Højbjerg. I think maybe Palhinha might well be more influential in certain games than Højbjerg. But I think Højbjerg's leadership is what we need, and maybe that's why we might well be leaning more towards Højbjerg, because it looks like the links with Højbjerg are quite strong, and that he's already, as reports have been saying from France, not in England, coming from France, that he's already agreed to come to Newcastle. I think maybe that's why Newcastle probably prioritized him over Palhinha, because he's maybe in a position where that leadership is maybe just a little bit more than what Palhinha offers. Mate, but it's an interesting one.
Mate, Citizen, I've already said it. Leon Goretzka.
He's a good player, but he's dropped his level, which is why he's on a free. He's dropped his level. I actually think performance-wise, right now, the two that we've been linked with are better performance-wise than Goretzka. I think over the years, Goretzka's been above them in terms of what he's done. But I think right now,
the fact he's going on a free, it says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. What I look at as well, Chris, is that we're 3 weeks away from the season starting, or just under 3 weeks away from the season, 2 weeks, in fact, from the season starting. And yet, he's still not got a club. For a player that's come from Bayern Munich, that's still not got a club right now, normally those types of players go, what? He's got a free from Bayern? Snap up.
Yeah.
He still hasn't. There's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. Whereas I think these lads are consistently playing well at the age that they're at, Højbjerg and Palhinha. I don't look at what Højbjerg did at Spurs. I look at what he's done the last couple of years at Marseille, and I think he's been very good. Spoke to Lee about it, and to be fair, if anything does materialise with Højbjerg, Lee no doubt will come on and give his opinion, because he's watched, obviously, French football. He watches a lot, and in particular, he's watched Marseille, so he'll be able to give you a little bit more of a lowdown. Let's come to some super chats, people. Let's do it. And we've got a really interesting question, which I'm going to ask you at the MP. I will save it up. It's a very interesting question. Jordy Vader Luke, thank you for being a member for 21 months, mate. All right, fellas, extremely infused here. Come on. Yeah, love it. Love it, Jordy Vader Luke. We are all extremely infused, mate. Very, very excited for the new season ahead. Life of Olo, thank you very much for your 10 jewels. We have a gold coin off Life of Olo, so thank you so much for that. We also have a gold coin off Big Dick Hertz. What a name! What's a name? And I love the little, the image as well of the Hertz sign. Very good, Big Dick Hertz. But thank you so much for that, mate. We've got a lot of gold coins to get through here, boys. Boy. It's only me and you tonight, isn't it, Pete? Big Dick Hertz again with 2 jewels. And he says 100. Big Dick Hertz with 20 jewels. He says GG's. Love that. Thank you very much, Big Dick Hertz. Oh, this is a running theme. Big G Hertz has found the jewel button. Big D Hertz with 2 jewels. It says sparkles. With 10 jewels, which says gold coin. And also with 6 jewels, which is a chili. So thank you so much, Big Dick Hertz, top man. There may be more there. There may be more. Who knows? You keep reading it out. You keep saying the full name. Big Dick Hertz. Right, we have a super chat from Benny Boy. Thank you so much, Benny Boy. Benny Boy says,
Alanga and Torre are possibly the quickest pair of wingers in the Premier League. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with
100%.
Torre's speed and ability on his left foot, like Lewis Hall, can you imagine those two linking up the left this season? Yeah, someone mentioned that before, Benny Boy. Very exciting, Pete, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I just think if we can get the middle of the park right with those two bombing down the wings, I think we could just, and being, it's not even bombing down the wings, it's just being direct and really attack minded. If we've got those two running down the wings, if we can get the middle of the pitch right, if we can get the right striker in the middle to be on the receiving end, if we can get the right creator just behind the striker to be there in that pocket of space, and if we can get the midfield set where it's solid in that double pivot, I think we've got an opportunity of, one, being really solid as a team, but two, scoring a lot of goals. I really do. This is one thing about our team last season, Chris. You know, we talked about it a lot, is our capacity to score goals. We never were really confident in this team scoring goals. And we did in like little fits here and there, but it wasn't really consistent. I think there's a lot of goals to be scored in this team next season. I really do. And they'll be a key part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But thank you so much for that super chat, Benny Boy. Kendo has given us 1,000 jewels, which is a trophy cake. So thank you so much for that, Kendo. Much appreciated, mate. Lawrence Evans, who's been a member for 11 months, and thank you so much, Lawrence. Last night, a star was born, Sean Stay. Mate, totally, absolutely.
And prize winner as well.
Prize winner, Lawrence Evans. Did Lawrence make a decision? Is he waiting for the away kit?
No, home kit.
He wants the home kit, right? Yeah. Bear with me, Lawrence. I will get that sorted for you, mate. So home kit, and it's the 90. Well, it says 95-97, doesn't it? Is that when we had it for 2 seasons?
I'll go back to it.
Or was it? Yeah.
No,
Lawrence. Or is it this season's home kit? Am I getting mixed up with Sophie?
Yeah, I think we might be getting mixed up. It's this season's home kit.
This season's home kit, right? So Lawrence Evans is getting this season's home kit, and Sophie is getting the 95-97 classic, the Shearer one. Yeah. I will get on to that, guys. But thank you so much, Lawrence, member for 11 months. Stephen with the super chat. Well, lads, I was excited 2 days ago, but if we stay unbeaten in the next 3 games, Mr. Handsome will be taking me beyond the semis for certain. Were you impressed, Pete, with not just the performance and, you know, and Valencia, very, very good side, but also the fact that we came from behind as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, you know, look, they caught us early. They caught us off guard. Even as
great goal, by the way. It was a great goal,
fantastic goal, and we should have done better on that. And I actually felt that goal that they scored almost woke us up. We started a little bit sluggish. They scored, and it was like, right, we need to get to work here. And then we played well from that point onwards. But yeah, coming from behind, that shows a certain type of resilience that I want to see in this team. This team that never says die, that never quits, that never gives up. That's what Newcastle United's all about. We are a team that gives everything on the pitch for 90 plus minutes in every single game and never gives up. And I looked at those players during that game, and even when it was 11 against 11, they never felt phased. You never saw panic on their face. You never saw panic in their play. They were all playing with confidence and belief in what they were doing. And we came and turned the game around, and we won, which is great. But that kind of confidence, if we can continue that and take that into every single game, Everton and the games at the weekend, that will do the world of good for confidence going into the season. And it's a tough start to the season, but if we go in there with confidence and belief and that resilience in us, I think we could surprise a couple of teams. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I agree. Stephen again. Thank you again for the super chat, Stephen. Where has the Serbian kid been playing and how has he done? So I think he's talking about Salia, isn't he? When he says that, I could be wrong, but I think that's who he's talking about. And then he says, what has happened to the Spanish wonder kids, which I think is Cordero? Where are our goals coming from this season? Go on, Pete.
Cordero has gone back on loan to Cadiz.
Yeah.
And the Serbian lad is Pivas. He played left back.
Oh, I thought it was Salia.
No, Sally is the Georgian lad, because remember he's
he's Georgian.
Yeah, the same as Kvaratskhelia. He's the Georgian lad, and Salia actually came off the bench against Gateshead.
He did.
So he's been involved and he's been training, but obviously I think he had an injury that affected his season, the back end of the season. So that's why we haven't seen much of him. But he's back fit now. He's been training and he played against Gateshead. So I think he's definitely one to keep an eye on for next season. Salia. Getting regular minutes, regular football. Pivas was the one that the Serbian lad. He played left back, and I'll be honest, I didn't judge him at all. I thought it was okay. I thought he was shaky in some areas, but I don't judge him on that because he isn't a left back. He was absolutely playing out of position. I actually thought he grew into the game. To be fair, as he went on, a few mistakes early on, grew into the game. Wasn't amazing, but again, it wasn't his position. I actually liked when he played against Gateshead. I liked him at centre back. I thought he looked really comfortable on the board. He looked confident. He had an element of confidence in himself that he knew what he was doing. I really hope he kicks on. I really do, because he's a centre back that can also play defensive midfield as well. So he's someone that could be quite versatile. So I think we're going to see one or two of these young lads be a part of the squad moving forward. I really do.
Well,
I think
that leads me on nicely, Pete, because that was one of my interesting questions. I'm going to ask it now because Stephen has popped it in there and put us on that subject. So Benny Boy says, Mason Marley looks a cracking player. Really excited to see his development. Then we had, where was the other one I wanted to bring up? Where was it? That is the main question, which I'm going to come to. Yeah. Daniel Ego says, I'm behind you guys, but Mason Marley looks very promising. Supposedly the best brother, and you can see why. So, yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, obviously there was 3 Marley brothers. You've got Louis Marley, you've got Jamie Marley, and you've got Mason Marley. And Mason Marley is meant to be the best of the 3, which is very exciting for us because obviously we know how good Louis Marley is, and Louis Marley is absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, very, very exciting. And obviously he got on the pitch yesterday. Where was the
before you go on, I'm going to say something now, is that I think Mason Marley within the next year will be in the first team. That's how good I think he is. I really like what I saw against Gateshead. Obviously, he got some more minutes last night as well. But I just think his frame, his technical ability on the ball, I think there's a place for him in this first team. But I really do. I think if he has a good season in the 21s, and then keeps training with the first team, I think there'll be a moment for him where he gets some minutes. I like what I've seen. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Dr. Uknox, I think it is, tell me if that's wrong. I thought it was really good player management to blood a few young lads, especially in defence. I thought Pivas really grew into the game well, considering limited support from Harvey Barnes. And I have to personally give a shout out to Leo Shahar. I was impressed by Leo Shahar. I know, there was a couple of moments where you were a bit like, oh, but I thought he looked really, really decent actually, and you could kind of see that from Jaissle'S as well, because he got extended minutes. I think he come off on the 60th, 70th minute or something like that. I think it was later on in the game, so he didn't come off at half time. He got more minutes, but I liked Leo Shahar. I thought there was promising signs.
A lot of people did, and I was a little bit different. I thought I don't think he was bad. I just wanted to see more. In particular with Shahar, I wanted to see more on the ball. There was a couple of passes, there was a couple of crosses that just weren't what I was expecting of him. I wanted to see a better level of quality of those. I thought defensive positioning and stuff was fine. No real issue there. And we talked about earlier his press, getting that press and winning the ball back. Those were good elements of his game. But just technically with the ball at his feet, I just wanted him to be a little bit more bolder. And I wanted him to produce. There was a couple of, particularly in the first half, a couple of times where we had a free opportunity, loads of space to just whip a ball in, and he was barely beating the first defender, and it was just getting knocked out. And I just thought his crossing and his use of the ball could have been better. But as the game went on, he did improve. But that was just that was my assessment of his first half, really, more so than the second half. But as a player, he is absolutely going to be part of our first team moving forward. Like he's a talented lad. I just wanted to see a little bit more from him. Maybe that's me being like a little bit demanding, but I know he's good enough. Like he's definitely good enough to be that level.
And it's good to give him minutes. And this is the question I was looking for, Pete. Lee Jones. Lee Jones says, lads, can any of you see any of the young lads playing last night making the final 25-man squad under Jaissle'? Now, obviously, I'm not an expert on the squad rules, but I'm pretty sure if you're below a certain age, you don't have to count towards the squad. So I suppose what we could ask is there any of the lads from last night that you think will be heavily involved within the first team squad next season? So off the top of my head, it was Pivas, it was Shahar, it was Mason Miley, it was Charlton, the young lad at centre-back. And there's probably a couple that were missing there as well. But any that you think, Pete, are going to go into next season? But we mentioned Salier as well. He wasn't in the squad last night. We've got Michael Mills, who often gets shout-outs. We've got Sam Alabi. We've got Trevor Sanusi. Any that you think are going to be in and amongst that squad going forward into the new season?
Yeah, I think Shahar will be part of our first team. I think we'll still sign a right back, but he'll be almost like the third choice, and he'll be part of the first team and train week in, week out. I think Miley will be part of our first team. So what I mean by that is that he will train day in, day out with the first team. This is what I mean. I think they'll be part of the first team, training day in, day out. They may well play their matches regular with the other 21s, and then be in the odd match day. I expect those boys to be a part of the Carabao Cup match days, and be a part of those FA Cup as well, and be integrated into those. But I think those two definitely, maybe Pivas. I'm not going to say that for definite right now because he hasn't really had a settled run. Even when he was on loan, he didn't have a great loan, and then he hasn't had a great or a settled run in the 21. So I want to see him have a good run where he's playing week in, week out, playing really well. And then a few people have put in the chat, Sean Neve. He's one that will definitely be in and around things. And someone put Rory Finnan in there, and I think it may still be a year too early. He may have the odd training sessions with the first team, but I think he'll be given a run at the 21s, and then it might be that he gets his next stint next summer, where he gets his opportunity to stake a claim. I could be wrong, but yeah, they're just the ones that I'm Miley for sure, Shahar for sure. And then they're the kind of two I'm going to stick to. Yeah. No, I think. What about you? Anyone for you, Chris? Or same?
Yeah, Mason Miley, definitely. Yeah, Leo Shahar, definitely. Maybe Rory Finneran. I don't know. Like you, Pete, I think they'll be in and amongst the training of the squad. You'll see them in the training pitches, definitely. It's whether or not any get a breakthrough. The only thing I will say to finish on it is probably, Pivas must have really impressed. Because, like you say, he's played out of position. They've stuck him at left back. So the manager's obviously liked what he's seen from him in training and thought that he's capable of doing it. Yeah. So fair play to him. And like you say, he grew into the game. A few shaky moments, particularly at the start. But then he's playing a position that's not natural to him. So the fact that the manager's stuck with him and gone with him at left back, that shows how highly he must rate him. He's obviously for arguing a chance. And let's not forget, Pete, Daz won't like this when he watches it back. He had the opportunity to use Alex Murphy, and he said no.
Not even in the squad.
So
nobody's talked about that. About that. We were talking. I think we talked about it in our chat as well. Alex Murphy not even in the squad at all. No, like they talked about the fact that Pope wasn't in the squad, and Ewan Jaran has got a minor back injury. He wasn't in the squad. Nobody mentioned about the fact that Alex Murphy wasn't in the squad at all.
No. So
interesting.
I like this from Strontium Dog. He says everyone's gone stir crazy. I like that. I had to bring that up. I really like that. And Callum Evans is saying, brilliant channel, guys. Brilliant channel, brilliant guys. You're a brilliant guy, Callum. Thank you so much, mate. Really, really nice of you to say that. Yeah, everyone's been mentioning this as well, Pete. The Clon lads, I see Tino's out for the Liverpool game. Lads is made of glass. Sophie B says Livramento will miss the start of the season. That right back's really important. And Top Boy Junior is saying Joaquin Says is my first choice, can play right back and left back.
Yeah, it's a player that Daz mentioned. Joachim Says, he mentioned him a couple of weeks ago. And in fact, we talked about him even further back than that earlier on in the summer as a potential option to sign. I did read today that Man United were looking at Joachim Says, so I'm not too sure on that one. But with Tino Livramento, that injury was clearly worse than what they told us, because Eddie Howe, when he was manager, did say that he'd be back for the back end part of pre-season. It's clear that he will not. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him now until after the international break in September. I just wouldn't be surprised, which makes it even more important for us to go and get a right back. We need to get one now, unless, Chris, because we talked about our midfield situation, unless they've already decided that Louis Miley, who is going to be back before the start of the season, is going to be our right back. Unless they've already decided this and just not communicated it out that he's going to play right back for us. That's the only thing that I'm thinking, because right now, Leo Shahar is the only one that is able to play right back for us going into this season. And for me, that is a big ask for a young talent to be put in that position. We need a right back in. So unless they're telling me that Louis Miley is going to be fit for Wednesday's game against Everton or fit for the weekend and he's going to be ready to start for Newcastle at right back, we need to get right back ASAP. Yeah,
100%. There is one more question I'm going to come to, which is outside of the super chats, but obviously we're going to go to the super chats first, Pete, and they keep coming in. Life of Rolo with a silver star, 2 jewels. Thank you so much, Life of Rolo. We also have My Little Mo, 200 jewels, jamming. Thank you very much, My Little Mo. Lovely to see you in the chat, and thank you for those. NJ the Magpie Gamer has become a member, so thank you very much, NJ the Magpie Gamer, for becoming a loaded ultra. It is much appreciated. And My Little Mo is gifted a loaded mag NUFC membership. Whether or not that's gone to NJ the Gamer, I don't know, but thank you so much, My Little Mo. It's really kind of you. Thank you, and hope you're well. And the Clon Lads is at the back post with his 10 jewels and a gold coin. Thank you so much, Clon Lads. Much appreciated. The Magpie Gamer, thank you for your super chat, mate. He has said, exciting season ahead. I love the aura of our new manager. And that is it. Yeah, it is the aura. You're quite right. Interesting one from John Burbeck. John Burbeck says, what will Scott McTominay cost? And thank you for your super chat, John. How much is Scott McTominay?
Great question. I'm not sure. Look, he was like literally the player of Serie A. Was it last season? Yeah, a fantastic season for Napoli, or the season before that. How old is he now? He's 29 years old, and his value, his market value, is seen at 38 million. Oof. I would say Napoli would want a lot more than that, and it's probably a price point for a player at 29 years old at Newcastle are probably not going to want to pay. And quite rightly, I would say. I like Scott McTominay and what he's done at Napoli. I think he's been fantastic there. Excellent even. Would be ideal in that number 10 position as an attacking midfielder arriving into the box. Would be absolutely ideal. So I understand why you've thrown the name out there, John. But that price point and that age does not match. No. Not with what Newcastle's put a bracket on. And they've been very particular on the defensive midfielder being a certain age. But I think their attacking midfielder, their creative midfielder, is going to be back to that bracket of anywhere between the ages of 20 and 24. Yeah. And I think that's what they're going to target.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. What? Oh, yeah. Here's one. Quick one for you, Pete, off Wolsey. Would you take Jed Spence?
Absolutely. Absolutely would take Jed Spence. Can play left back, can play right back.
On the price, though? On the price?
It depends on what.
Spurs have got a hell of a lot of money for them.
I don't think it'll be as much as you think. I know that we're trying to get him over to Italy for a certain price. Was it around 40 million-ish? Yeah. Which I think for him, and he's still a young defender, I think is not a bad price. Clonlad just put 30 million. If he's 30 million, I'm signing it. He can play left back, he can play right back.
Right,
I thought he was absolutely superb for England. That game against Argentina, I was up and I was I was on holiday. We were fist bumping. I was going absolutely mental when he was putting those challenges in. That recovery challenge at 1-0 that he made, brilliant. He had no right to win that. He was absolutely brilliant. And everyone kind of ummed when he was put into the team. Everyone was going, oh, so-and-so should be starting. So-and-so should be starting. But I tell you what, he proved everyone wrong because he was brilliant. Yeah, he was. And just so I would absolutely take him 100%. Just another one, a player that was linked with us as well, who's another right back. I'll just see if I can get the image. 1 second. Which one is it? It was just put in the chat as well. So Norton Coffee. Is it Coffee?
Yeah, Coffee. Yeah, it is.
Coffee. Coffee is Brooke Norton Coffee. Currently at Genoa. He come through the Arsenal Academy, went to Italy at a younger age, has had a decent season playing at right back, but has been linked today with us. There was a report that he wasn't in the matchday squad for Genoa due to transfer reasons. What that may well be, I'm not too sure. I think the plane spotters have been a part of this opinion that that Cuffy is a player of interest. I'm not too sure. We were linked with him before. I'm not too sure about that one. Let's see how that one with Brooks Norton Cuffy materializes. But a player that has been linked with Newcastle before, so who knows?
And Pete, last question, and I wanted to bring this up. I'm going to merge two questions because I'm going to talk about the goods, and I'm going to talk about maybe the not so goods, because we didn't mention either of these players in the match last night, so it's only fair to bring them up. John Bebeck says, "I'm sorry, but no one has mentioned the goalkeeper and what we thought on Hornacek, our new goalkeeper. No one, we didn't mention what we thought on Hornacek, so it was a good shout that, John." And also Christopher Hoskins says, "The boards are going cheap and loaded us up with wages. Can we talk about the crap number 10, Nick Voltemade?" So I'm not going to go that strong on him, Christopher, but, you know, what were your thoughts? Firstly, on Hornacek, what you saw, and also what you thought on Voltemade.
Hornacek, I thought he had a really good and steady game. Nothing he could do about the goal, but I thought he commanded his area well. I thought he swept well. I thought his use of the ball at his feet, which is an important point, was very good. And yeah, I thought he had a really good, steady first game. Of course, there was the mix-up with Botman and him with regards to him coming out, Botman heading. Botman did the right thing, by the way. There was clearly no communication there. Botman tried to get rid of it, and he did. He did the right thing. Hornacek just needs to be more vocal. And I said that as I was watching the game. I said that at the time. He just needs to be more vocal, but that's to be expected. First game playing together as a unit with Chow, Botman, and Hornacek as that sort of diamond. It happened. And maybe at his previous club, Pete, that kind of ball, maybe the understanding with his old teammates was, Lucas is coming for that. Exactly.
And yeah.
Exactly that. And it's just that understanding. That mistake will end up being a good thing for Newcastle, because next time they'll know. Next time they'll know, okay, Lucas is here. Now, you got to remember, we've had a goalkeeper in Dubravka that likes to stay on his line. And then they've had a goalkeeper like Nick Pope, who is, you don't know what you're going to get.
He's coming.
Yeah. So it's not the defenders' fault. The defenders are just trying to deal with it because they don't want to be. They don't want to be the ones that are making the mistakes. They've been used to just dealing with it, but actually they've got a competent goalkeeper now that actually is willing to come and collect and do his job and command his area. So it'll be a case of next time they'll just let him do it. So no issue for me. Really well played. Nick Voltemade, I was disappointed with. I'm not going to lie. Really disappointed with. My biggest pet peeve with Nick Voltemade, my biggest pet peeve with him, and it's been for the long part of the season last year, is his hold-up play. the lad he's very technical on the ball, but he doesn't hold on to the ball long enough. So there's a few times in that first half that the ball was fizzed in, whether it was Bamba, whether it was Ramsey, fizzing the ball into him through the lines into the tight spaces, and his control or his ability to hold off players, he's not good enough. He's 6'7". He's a big, tall, imposing player. He doesn't use his body enough to hold off players to continue to hold the ball. He gets shrugged off too easily. He loses the ball too easily, and then it breaks down attacks. It needs to be better. If you're going to be playing in that little pocket, you've got to be able to play in tight spaces. You've got to be able to manipulate the ball well, and you've got to be able to do the business the other end. Now, we didn't see a lot of him the other end in terms of creating chances or goal-scoring opportunities, but we did see a lot of times where he had the ball and he didn't do enough to protect it, and I need to see more of that. That doesn't mean he's a rubbish player. It just means he's learning what Jaissle wants. But Jaissle, I would imagine, will be telling him that ball needs to stick. If you've got Bamba or Stir or Ramsey fizzing that ball into you between the lines, you've got to, 1, control it. You've got to, 2, protect it. And 3, find the next man. If he can do that, the overall look of his game will be a lot better. That's what I'll say for Nick Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Anything to add, fella?
Only that I thought Hornacek, I thought he made some really, really smart saves as well. There was a moment as well where he got down really low and he flicked the ball away. So clearly very, very agile, something we've not been used to from our goalkeepers now for some time. So I'm really excited about Lucas Hornacek, and I think he's only going to get better and better. And like you say, just to be a little bit more vocal, I think will be really useful. On Voltemade, yeah, he's one of these players, isn't he, unfortunately, that will frustrate. I think some weeks he will frustrate and other weeks he will wow. And that kind of summed up his season last season. He scored some really, really great goals last season and got us some valuable points. But then in other games, he's just non-existent. I'm hoping that, under our new manager, Matthias Jaissle, he's gonna find that place for him. But you're right, Pete. He needs to up his game, and he needs to kind of be aware of the strengths that he does have, and he needs to utilize them. A player who's 6'7", not winning the ball in the air is criminal. It's criminal. I'm not saying that he should be fantastic in the air and he should win everything, but at least look like you're challenging for it. Or if that's the case and you don't want to, then don't get the ball lumped up to you, because as a player you're looking going, "Oh, Nick will win that," but he should not be great. Yeah, he should be.
He doesn't attack the ball, so when the ball's in the air, he doesn't attack it. He almost kind of gets underneath it, so it drops on his head. You don't see him ever with any sort of venom in the middle of the pitch. Go, right, that's my ball, bang.
Yeah,
head the ball into Bamba, head the ball into Ramsey. Right, here's the ball. I've won it back for you. Now do something. It's always very tentative. He's 6'7". He monsters over everybody on that pitch. He should be absolutely dominating that ball if it's in the air for a 50-50, and he doesn't. It is an area he needs to be improving on. For a 6'7" striker or attacking midfielder, however you want to see him, right, he doesn't impose himself enough, and he needs to do it more. These are all areas. He's 24 still, or 25 just. He needs to make sure he's doing this more, because I'll be honest, Chris, this is a big season for him. Like it is for Alanga, like it is for Wisa, it is equally as important that Nick Voltemade, for himself and us, has a good season, because if he doesn't, right, he'll be on the chopping block.
Yeah.
Next summer, 2027 summer, he'll be on the chopping block. He's got to improve. He's got to perform. He's got to be better. But it's early days. It's one game to be saying he's rubbish. I'm not on that yet. He's got lots more time to prove himself. So new system, new manager, new style. Let's give him a little bit more grace. A little bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's it for the questions.
Fantastic. People, it's been a fantastic chat tonight. Really, really good. Few links. Really good to have some football to talk about. Gives us a little taster on the lips for next season and what we're going to be covering on Loaded Mag NUFC. We'll be back here again talking all things Newcastle United as we carry on. And look, we've signed 5 players already.
Am I happy with that? No, I'm not. I want more.
More. We want more. I want more. Chris wants more. Daz on holiday wants more. And we'll be back with more very, very soon on Loaded Mag NUFC. Our Sunday nights over on Loaded, but we'll be back for more very soon. You guys take care. We'll see you out with the outro and then Oxford Natural. We'll speak to you guys soon. Take care.
Mama always told me, Papa always warned me, don't hang around with boys like you. Teacher always told me never to be naughty, don't mess around with boys like you. If I had a listen, wouldn't be in this position. If I had a listen, wouldn't be in this position. If I had a listen, wouldn't be in this position. If I had a listen, wouldn't be in this position with you.
Before we get back to today's show, I want to show you something that's really impressed me. Just look at these incredible transformations. Robbie from AFTV and DR Sports has lost over £100. Michael Owen has lost over £40. Anita has lost over £60. And Linda has lost more than £50. Okay, now let's get it right. No supplement does the hard work for you. Real results come from healthier lifestyle choices. But people keep asking, what's the difference between Optimum Day and Optimum Night? The new Optimum Day formula combines 7 carefully selected active ingredients in one capsule, and here they are. Citicoline and lion's mane for focus, natural caffeine and guarana for energy, green tea extract, berberine and L-carnitine to support metabolism. Then Optimum Night adds another 6 active ingredients. So instead of buying lots of different supplements, you've got one complete day and night system with 13 carefully selected active ingredients. Scan the QR codes or click the link below. Use the code LOADED70 for 70% off your first order. Take a look, see what it's all about, and if it's right for you, why not give it a try? Now, let's get back to today's show.